Okay, imagine for a second that your body is a highly advanced biological computer. Now, what if I told you that we could write a simple line of code, upload it directly into your system, and literally program your own cells to hunt down and cure cancer? I mean, it sounds like pure science fiction, doesn't it? But actually, it's not.
The wild reality is that this technology already exists today. In fact, there's a really high probability that you've already used it. If you received a vaccine during the COVID-19 pandemic, well, you have personally experienced the sheer power of mRNA technology. But here's the thing. Ending a global pandemic, that was just the opening act.
In this explainer, we are going to completely demystify messenger RNA. We'll follow its incredible evolution from this widely misunderstood, kind of overlooked biological concept into a revolutionary, fully programmable medical platform. We're diving straight into the source material to uncover how this tech is shifting from a pandemic hero to a potential universal cure.
Let's start with Section 1, the superpower, how mRNA works.
Okay, let's dive into this and look at the fundamental science. To understand why mRNA is such a game changer, we first need to understand its superpower at a cellular level. You can think of synthetic mRNA like an instruction manual. The mRNA, which is enclosed in this tiny protective bubble, enters the host cell. Once it's inside, the cell's machinery reads the instruction manual and just starts producing specific proteins, which we call antigens. The cell then displays these antigens right on its surface, and this acts like a massive red flag, alerting and activating the heavy hitters of your adaptive immune system. We're talking about the CD8+ cytotoxic T cells. They act as the foot soldiers to actively destroy infected cells, and the CD4+ helper T cells, which function sort of like generals coordinating the broader immune response. So you aren't giving the body the cure, you're giving the body the exact instructions it needs to build the cure itself.
To really appreciate how huge this is, we kind of have to look at how we used to do things. For the last 40 years or so, traditional vaccine development has been this incredibly slow, grueling process. It involves complex biological cultivation, like literally growing massive vats of viruses or bacteria and then painstakingly deactivating them. It takes years. But with mRNA vaccines, we use what's called cell-free synthesis. They're manufactured rapidly and synthetically in a lab without needing live cells at all. It's basically a completely scalable, plug-and-play system that revolutionizes how fast we can respond to biological threats.
And traditional vaccines have some pretty serious limitations, as you can see here. Live attenuated vaccines actually carry a small risk of reverting to virulent forms. Protein-based vaccines take forever to develop and need heavy adjuvants just to trigger an immune response. Even DNA vaccines, which sound a lot like mRNA, have a theoretical risk of integrating into your host genome. But mRNA, it completely bypasses all of this. There's literally zero risk of genomic integration because mRNA never even enters the cell nucleus. And then it naturally degrades once its job is done. Poof, leaving absolutely no trace behind.
Moving on to Section 2, New Quests, Conquering Infectious Diseases.
Because mRNA acts as a blank, highly adaptable canvas, scientists are now pointing this technology at pathogens that have historically just laughed in the face of traditional medicine. We are talking about a whole new quest to conquer our deadliest historical foes, and the speed of this technology alone is staggering. For example, back in 2013, researchers developed an mRNA vaccine candidate for the H7N9 bird flu epidemic in just 8 days. 8 days! No way we could do that before. And now they're scaling up. They're targeting HIV, a virus that mutates so rapidly it has completely evaded a vaccine for decades, by using mRNA to induce broadly neutralizing antibodies. They're working on a universal influenza vaccine that targets the non-mutating stock of the virus, which could mean an end to annual flu shots entirely. Zika, RSV, Ebola, these are complex pathogens with unique evasion mechanisms that have stumped researchers for generations. And now, they are all in the crosshairs of mRNA.
Which brings us to Section 3. Programming immunity against cancer.
This is where it gets really crazy. If we can program the immune system to recognize a virus, could we program it to recognize a tumor? Welcome to personalized cancer immunotherapy. So the crucial point here is understanding a concept called a neoantigen. When cancer cells mutate, they produce novel peptide sequences that your normal, healthy cells simply do not have. These are neoantigens. Because they're completely unique to the tumor, they act like biological wanted posters. If we can just show these specific wanted posters to the immune system, it will learn to hunt down the cancer while completely ignoring all of your healthy tissue.
Now, in practice, this isn't some generic, one-size-fits-all drug you just pull off a pharmacy shelf. It requires a fully personalized manufacturing cycle. Doctors actually have to take a sample of a patient's specific tumor, then they sequence its unique genetic code, identify the distinct mutations driving that specific malignancy, and then they custom build an mRNA vaccine tailored entirely 100% for that one individual.
Let's break those steps down slowly so we clearly understand how this works. Step 1 involves next-generation sequencing, or NGS, of the extracted tumor sample. Once we have that massive dataset, Step 2 utilizes advanced bioinformatics and machine learning algorithms to sift through the data. It's looking for and predicting the exact mutations, those neoantigens, driving your cancer. Then comes Step 3, the vaccine design. An mRNA sequence is artificially synthesized in the lab to code for those exact neoantigens we just identified. And finally, Step 4 is administration. You are injected with the customized mRNA. Your cells read the code, produce the wanted posters, and your T cells are deployed as a highly specific, targeted army to go to war against the tumor. And the results? It's incredible. Clinical trials for melanoma and lung cancer are already showing massive reductions in recurrence rates.
But let's look at Section 4, the kryptonite, overcoming delivery challenges.
Okay, I know this sounds like a total medical utopia, but we have to ground this excitement in reality for a minute. Every hero has its kryptonite, right? And for mRNA, it's the physical delivery. The mRNA molecule itself is incredibly fragile. If you just injected raw mRNA straight into the bloodstream, your body's defensive enzymes, which are called nucleases, would literally shred it to pieces before it ever reached a cell. This brings us to the unsung hero of this entire revolution, the lipid nanoparticle, or LNP. An LNP is a microscopic protective envelope made of fats. It acts as a necessary suit of armor, shielding the fragile mRNA from degradation in the bloodstream. Plus, human cells have a negative charge and mRNA has a negative charge, so they naturally repel each other. The ionizable lipids engineered into the LNP neutralize this repulsion, successfully sneaking the mRNA safely inside the cell boundary.
But even with the brilliance of LNPs, significant physical and logistical hurdles still remain. The inherent instability of the mRNA molecule means it degrades very easily at room temperature. Because of this fragility, these vaccines often require extreme ultra-cold chain storage. We are talking about maintaining temperatures around -60 degrees Celsius throughout the entire shipping process. When you combine the need for specialized freezers with the complex manufacturing of synthetic mRNA and lipid nanoparticles, the high production costs become a major global barrier.
And this presents a pretty sobering reality, directly highlighted in the source material. High costs associated with mRNA vaccine production and distribution can make them unaffordable for many countries, creating disparities in vaccine access. As we look at this technology impartially, we really have to acknowledge that a cure isn't truly a cure if only half the world can afford or store it. Optimizing molecular stability so these therapeutics can actually survive in low-resource regions without relying on ultra-cold freezers, well, that's currently one of the biggest scientific challenges in modern medicine. Finally, let's look at Section 5, the horizon, the future of medicine. Let's wrap up by seeing how this builds into an entirely new frontier. We've talked about infectious diseases and cancer, but the horizon for mRNA goes way further than that. We are looking at autoimmune and genetic applications. Because think about it. If we can use mRNA to turn the immune system on to fight cancer, researchers are discovering we can also use it to turn the immune system off to treat autoimmune diseases like multiple sclerosis or lupus. By encoding specific autoantigens, we can induce immune tolerance, essentially retraining the body to stop attacking itself. And for genetic disorders like cystic fibrosis, where a patient's DNA produces a faulty protein, we can just use mRNA to deliver the instructions for the correct functional protein. It acts as a direct, precise replacement therapy. And this brilliantly illustrates the complete hero's journey of this technology. We started with the slow, 40-year crawl of traditional vaccines. Then, sudden necessity forced a massive breakthrough during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, that exact same platform is being hyper-personalized to fight individual cancer tumors. And tomorrow, it may provide the missing puzzle pieces for genetic and autoimmune diseases. It is literally a single, programmable key unlocking countless biological doors. Which leaves us with a staggering thought to end this explainer on. We all saw what this technology did when the entire world was pushed to the brink. How just a few weeks of genetic sequencing and cell-free synthesis stopped a global pandemic. As algorithms improve, as delivering nanoparticles get smarter, and as costs finally come down, what will the next decade of programmable mRNA medicine achieve? Will we actually see a world where a cancer diagnosis is met with a custom-printed cure?
The code is already being written. I highly encourage you to keep exploring this topic because the future of medicine is quite literally in the programming.